Aloha, all. This is Samana. This is my 50th podcast, calling this COVID Connections, Dating, and Relating. So, it seems, looking at my statistics, that most, um, the most interest of the podcasts I do usually have to do with relationships and dating and various things, and that is my topic. I love that. So, today we are going to talk about some things. So, here, let's start this. During these times, common challenges is we are social people. We learn through mirroring and reflection of others in our lives. And when we are healthy and balanced, we tend to have a range of different connections of different people. That when we have a feeling to do something different, let's do this. So they stimulate different parts of ourselves. Like you have that person that, okay, I woke up with energy. Let's go on a hike. Let's go for a walk down by the lake. Anything physical. Or the person that you sit and you go have brunch with every week. Or let's meet at the coffee shop and have these long, inspiring chats, contemplating the mysteries of life. We have our family, where we hold specific roles, where we're either the authority or this is our duty or caretaking, um, helping mom with laundry, taking out trash, going for a walk with our father, whatever that is, responsibilities. And hopefully you have one of your mirrors, one of your connections is with intimacy, either verbal intimacy where you could talk about anything safe and or of course sensually and sexually, which is my favorites. Anyways, we need to satisfy our creativity, our fun, our purpose, and our nurturing side. So we're so multifaceted as humans, and we need to get these needs met. Yet we are in this COVID consciousness. And what does that really mean? Now that's a term that I came up with back in March, like COVID conscious, like. So I was looking for roommates because I did B&Bs, and I stopped that because I share my home and I didn't feel safe having random people coming in for a night or 5 nights, and I don't know anything about their history, and you can't really ask that. So I shut that down, and this has been quite the transformation for me. And then I started looking for roommates. So during March, I had a couple of young guys. They were perfect again, did all the qualifications I needed. And then I started placing ads on Facebook and stuff. And in my ad, I made the comment about, are you COVID conscious? And then as soon as the texting initiated, I went right for it. First off, I do say, hopefully you are open-minded and politically on the same page. And then we got into that further about what that meant to me, because this is going to matter who's my roommate in November. Anyways, but let's get back to this. So what I mean by COVID conscious is, do they respect that we need to use masks even before it was mandated? Do they practice social distancing? Do they have a job with low risk exposures? Are they COVID conscious in their free time? So I read articles from so many different sources, which I've often recommended to my listeners out there. Keep it vast so that you have a couple different frames that you're looking at. So if it's political or whatever it is, I'm always looking up the latest research. What are the scientists saying now about this virus, and how we can handle these challenges? And our lifestyle's changing all the time. So the most valuable points that I've heard recently was the term, they called it a COVID bubble. So this is a safe container of connections outside of your household. So your household is a whole nother story that I'll bring up again later. But this means, and this is interesting because even before I read this organically happened for me, that you basically pick 3 to 4 people that you have similar values as you, or things that stimulate things that are important to you. And the values are like, if they don't care about masks and distancing, then this podcast doesn't matter so much to you. Perhaps I still have value in here, but let's say that everybody's on board with doing what is right for each other. So these times have been referenced to when AIDS became relevant, and that was in the 80s. So having sex without condoms could kill you in those days. Like suddenly people were like, wait, having unnecessary exposure to someone who might have AIDS and now to this virus could pose this virus. Let's just look at this virus. This could pose long-term physical damage or death. So now I've had many friends now. I'm in Texas. There's a lot of cases. It's just off the charts, unfortunately, because it's Republican and it looks like it's going to the blue. Prayers, hopefully. People are like standing up for themselves regardless of what the governor wants or whatever. Anyways, but the people that are getting it, so there's not as many deaths. I mean, that depends how you want to look at it. There were 174 deaths yesterday in the state of Texas in one day. That's very sad. Very, very sad to me. Anyways, so, but the people that are getting this, even if they have a 3-day flu and fever, they're finding that the shortness of breath and the chest pain, that it could last anywhere from a couple of weeks if they're very young and healthy to even if they were younger and healthy, meaning younger is 40s, 50s, I'm talking, and they're like it's months later and they get winded and they get worn out quickly and they just need to nap more. So we don't know how long this is. I read an article a long time ago when the COVID first started, and this was a little scary to me because it basically said that the government wouldn't allow anyone to sign up in the military that has been exposed to COVID, that has had COVID. And I'm like, wait a minute. Why would it matter? You would think that they wanted someone that already had COVID because maybe they have antibodies, not that they're seeing that even stays in your system past 2 to 4 months. So that's not even happening. So what do they know that they're not sharing with us? Why wouldn't they want someone with that? Because they see long-term damage? So yes, back to why we need our masks and distancing and why we need to come up with conversations. So we need those uncomfortable questions ahead of time. If you're wanting to connect with family or friends and it's been a while, we need to even ask them, what's their COVID practices been? What are their hygiene? Do they sanitize? I have sanitizers all over my house for my roommates and my few bubble of people that come in, and we do that as soon as they enter the house. So again, this COVID consciousness. I know people that are wanting to see their family and friends that they tell them not to come visit. This happened to a friend of mine. She was planning a trip to go see her parents, and the brother calls and says, you know what, they're elderly and they're compromised. They're at high risk and you can't like get off a plane even if you're wearing your mask, and you can't like quarantine for 2 weeks before you see them, like, because no one has that amount of time. So this is really becoming like status quo for many people, and to not take it personal, not to be offended when someone doesn't want you to come there or if you don't want someone there. I mean, my mother's about to have surgery. I wished I could go there and help her. I had a cousin that just went through a deep loss. I wanted to be there with her, and I'm not about to get on a plane and leave my little safety net right here until who knows. I don't even know when that is, and I don't feel bad about it. I'm just trusting my what I'm feeling right now. So what we do have that's interesting. So I just made this comment with someone I was having a Zoom meeting with the other night, a business Zoom meeting, and I'm like, this COVID thing kind of propelled us into the future by quite a bit, because now we are all using Zoom and Alexa Show. I'm so glad I got my mom Alexa Show, and I'm reminding her how to use that, and FaceTime and Messenger and Skype. So all of these where you have that virtual, that visual, that matters, because you can have a meal together or share a glass of wine with a friend. while you're sitting outside and they're outside on their porch too. And you can just have these whole encounters that they diminish that loneliness and that separation for a minute. So these become paramount and need to be a regular tool to use in all of our lives. So if you know someone elderly, you know, see if you can find a neighbor or someone that's safe that can go in and like sanitize and be totally clear and go help them to download the app, show them how to use these services so that they can start connecting with their family and their friends. It's important to have those connections because, again, I say this every podcast and it's becoming more relevant, is that this isn't leaving anytime soon. We're talking 2 to 3 years, right? So we need to like settle into a new way of being, and that's one of them. We can't just like live isolated for the next 2 to 3 years. There won't be a reason. Like we need interaction. That's the type of beings we are, to flourish, to be happy. We can't just have that one person in our life or our pet, or I mean, I'm grateful when we have that, but we need other interaction. So find that 3 to 4 people that is COVID conscious. So I'm going back to, let's talk about our home environment. So regardless if it's family that you're living with, or roommates, or it's just you and your partner, you all need to be on the same page. If your partner has one of his outside COVID bubble friends who parties and they believe in ragers and big groups, and that this is all a hoax, this virus thing, and you're feeling anxiety every day because although you are in your late 20s and healthy, you had asthma growing up and you're fearful and you're feeling not so strong right now. This is a real life situation that I'm telling you. This is one that I've heard in this last week or so. This is important. So it's important to have these conversations and share this with your partner. Say, not in a whiny way or in a combative way, but literally, I need to share something with you. Do you have time to listen to me? Always ask permission. And then you say, this scares me when you interact with your friend. And it's not because I'm trying to keep you from your friend, but anyone you interact with, even if I don't go, it brings it into our home, into me. So this is true. These are unprecedented times. We either need to find a way to be heard and changes are made that we feel safe, or you need to have the courage to leave the situation because you're listening to what you need. So this culture is shedding truths in the most unusual way, this COVID culture. So where we might usually, in normal circumstances, meaning before this virus, we might keep that roommate who's always been slightly annoying, yet they've always paid their rent on time. But now it doesn't feel safe because they go to COVID parties. How about that for stupid? If you haven't heard of this one, that's where people that don't believe it's true, and then they go to these parties with someone that's tested positive. And unfortunately, there was a 30-year-old in Texas that just died from that. And the nurse recorded his last words saying, "I'm sorry, I made a mistake and this is real." And then he died. So it's a shame. But anyways, or if they refuse to wear masks, you might have to say, I would feel safer if you found another place to live. But you need to feel that safety in your home environment and with your partner. So safety is the foundation for intimacy and trust in your relationships. So without those elements of intimacy and trust, we don't feel safe, and there's nothing that can be solid or lasting. So remember that. We're being forced to do some conversations we normally wouldn't, but it is crucial. It is life or death. How about that for upping the ante of prioritizing what really is right action? Okay, so on the lighter side, my roommate situation is a blessing. I think I've shared with you before that I have these mala beads, so it's kind of similar to a rosary. It's a Buddhist thing, and I keep it in my car, And whenever I'm going to the store or to the beach or to the lake or something, it has 108 beads. And instead of doing this mantra, I do appreciations or gratitudes. So it's 108 gratitudes, which doesn't take long, but I find that it flows and it actually shifts my brain chemistry and gives me energy. It makes me so happy and expansive. But I'll go through each one. I'm grateful for my roommates, and I'll say their names in particular. I'm grateful for my father, for my daughter, for my dogs, for my house, for my boyfriend, for my individual friends, and saying each of their names. I'm grateful for my awareness. It just goes on and on. But back to the roommates. They're in my blessings daily, my gratitudes. So the two guys that I'm currently living with, they're cautious in their work. It's low exposure, and even in their hangout time. So that makes me feel safe. And so I couldn't ask for better companionship during these times. So now remember, this is a fact. If one person gets exposed in your household, and if they are being cautious, but it happens, you can't blame them. But just know if one goes down, you're all going down. So be ready, be wise, and also have fun. So this is your home life is your COVID bubble, your 3 to 4 people that are outside of the household. So they have different exposures, but let's say that we know their exposures. Okay, so they're interacting only with their family members or with their one boyfriend that interacts with only this few group of people. So again, it's spreading that a little bit, but it's still a containment. So these are your approved COVID chosen family. And this might last a couple more years these times. So we need to have that little approved COVID bubble, right? So one person told me the other day some creative things they were doing with their roommates. So I have a Wii game and I have bocce balls I just got, which we do in the backyard, and I love that. I have a dartboard in the garage. We could play card games. I love Pictionary and Mexican Train and things like that. But this week, my friend was saying, with her, she has 4 roommates, so it's 4 of them total that live in the house, and they all work out of the home, so it's fairly low exposure and stuff. And they're like, we're all sitting on the back porch, and there's all these flies this time of year in Texas. So they decide to do this. How many flies can you kill in 2 minutes? And that was the game. So they made it a game. So they'd time each. I'm like, did you each have a fly swatter? She goes, no, we only have one. So they would time each other 2 minutes to see how many flies could each person kill. So hey, it's both desperate and creative, but it made me laugh, and I wanted to share that. Okay, now we're going to move on to some juicy stuff. We're going to talk about dating. So first off, and I've had this talk with clients and with friends, you don't have to wait till this is over before you date again. And in the meantime, just be lonely and sad, because again, this can be a few years that we're going forward. So online dating is more popular than ever. So first, let's talk about the profile. And I often said that I've done this on some past things on relationships, but I'm going to talk about zhuzhing up your profile, right? So you want current pictures. You want a variety of pictures. Don't just have one. I'm going to tell you, if I just see you in every picture with your sunglasses on, I don't trust you. So I want a clear, full face shot. But then this was interesting that I learned when I started doing all my dating in Austin 5 years ago. And I would talk to guys about how is it with their online dating. And I just loved it. They're like, well, some of these women I meet, they don't even have teeth. And I'm like, wow, okay. But they said they don't like looking at profiles that don't show a full body, because it's not like we all need to be this perfectly sculpted body. But, if you're like a bigger person, it's like, be proud of that. Show it. Don't hide it. And I don't do filters or any of that. This is who I am. And I'd always ask guys, am I who you believe I am? They're like, yeah, you look better than your pictures even. So that is what we want to hear. So we don't want any deception. We want to keep things clear. So have a variety of pictures, and some could be where you're dressed up and some where you're casual. Now, some people are bold enough where they have bathing suit pictures, or the guys have their shirt off. But I'm going to tell you, when I see pictures where the guy is like, you could see he's in his bathroom and he's like showing his like sculpted abs, but his pants are kind of undone, the first couple buttons, and you see pubic hairs and stuff, that doesn't do much for me. How about just show the shirt off? You could show that, but keep it a little tasteful. Again, this could be me. There might be other people out there that want that. That's fine. Okay. Also, I've heard that the wording in your profile needs to be light and fun. First, ask yourself before you write your profile or redo your profile, like, what are you looking for? Like, really ask yourself that question. What am I looking for? Am I just looking for companionship? Do I want a platonic friend to go on walks with? Do I want a date? Do I want sex? Do I want eventually a long-term relationship? Like, is marriage an end game or out of the question? Like, I would say find those questions out for yourself and somehow put that in your profile. Now, no one is looking like, okay, here, I'm swiping right because I want to marry this person. Like, that's way too much pressure for someone. So it's all going to start light and fun. But be specific by saying, what you're looking for so that people have a clue. And because if it's casual, that, I mean, initially we want it all to be casual, but if eventually, like I used to write, let's see if friendship works and if there's enough compatibility and commonalities, then, someday I'm looking for the love of my life, right? Like that's how I just wrote that, but that wasn't my main point. And those of you that go out there that haven't dated and now you're trying to, like, if you're looking for like that checklist that everything they do is wrong or no, this isn't the person, you need to be clear about, are you looking for physical companionship, for emotional companionship, or eventually long-term relationship? So when you say, oh, they didn't have this, or it was perfect other than this, I keep going back to asking, well, what is it you're looking for? Are you looking for a committed relationship or are you looking for fun? So if you're looking for fun and they're a person you like, then it doesn't matter that they're not perfect. If you're looking for a long-term relationship and that's a big red flag, then don't waste your time. Anyways, and I had someone asking me this week, we went paddleboarding, one of my girlfriends, and she was saying, well, when do you bring up like serious stuff about like sex and stuff? I said, for me, if I'm going out on a third date with them, I'm serious. It means like I like them enough. There's very few guys that I went out on 3 dates with. So I went out on the second just to be certain that I was correct with my first instinct that it wasn't quite for me. But then if it was still nice and I went out on a third date, I'm going for it because I'm not afraid to say anything. I mean, I'm called Unconventional Insights for a reason because everything goes. I talk about everything. And if someone can't handle that candor and also is honest like that and can meet me, then it wouldn't be of interest to me. But again, who are you? Do you, right? Okay. So, and I'm going to say something to guys. I've read so many profiles that say, I like to do anything outdoors. Now, that's a waste of time. No shit. Like, everybody likes to do things outdoors unless you're a computer nerd. So, tell us some specifics about what makes you interesting. Who are you? Like, yeah. And again, if you like animals and stuff, like, show a picture of your dog, your cat, your bird, your monkey, whatever you have. The squirrels in your backyard, like what floats your boat, as they say, and lights you up. So, now, on my profile, I would do things like I enjoy kayaking and anything in the water and scooters and hikes and bikes and long walks and, working out, yoga. I like lots of connecting conversations. And again, all topics are on the table. That would be my profile, but my profile is suspended. I'm happy in my relationship. Okay, talking to a friend of mine who's been divorced several years. This happened this week. She's like, there's no one in my area to date. Like, I'm just so frustrated with this. And I said, listen, I guarantee your profile looks like your resume. Guys don't want this resume. It's not a job interview. They don't want this polished you that's smart and financially independent. They want to know the real you. So things like, I love to run. I love tennis. I love watching good movies with popcorn, maybe adventures or sci-fi or rom-coms or something. I like long conversations over a good bottle of wine. I love ballroom dancing. I like cooking a meal together. So any of those things. So put who you are, like what you really like. I like going to a coffee shop where we're both writing or reading a book and chatting every once in a while, but we're doing it together and quiet. I know that's strange, but that's what I like. That's who I am. Okay, so when the texting starts, keep your answers short. My women friends, clients and friends, they tend to overshare, and that scares guys away. They're like, wait, we were having this great thing, and then I didn't hear from them. I'm like, guess why? Because they're like, this is exhausting. So keep your answers clear and concise and wait until you meet them. Don't overshare. They don't want a basket case. They want fun. Everybody wants fun. So then, after texting a couple times, don't do this forever. I believe in instantly either talking or preferably do FaceTime, Zoom, something like that as soon as possible, and there's a couple reasons for this. First off, you want to eliminate that there's no catfishing possibilities. And for those of you that don't know what that means, it means someone hacks someone, they pretend they're someone else. And you don't want that. And also, when you could see someone, even though we're not in person, you find out pretty quickly if there's commonalities in chemistry. So visual matters to us. So the plus of COVID, I'm hearing, is it's like the old days. I've read articles, I've heard from friends and clients that are in the dating world that they're like, we talked a lot and got to know each other pretty much over, like when it was in lockdown and stuff, or even now over Zoom and things. And then by the time you actually do say, okay, we're going to risk it, we're going to meet in person, you need to make certain that what you are feeling safe with and comfortable with, how you want to meet. Like if someone's saying, let's meet at this bar, if there are still bars open wherever you're at, and you're not comfortable with that because it's all indoors, then you got to know right then, why would you move forward with that person? Because there's no chance of intimacy coming up with that in any time soon, even in the next several months, because you'll always feel unsafe with them. So if your comfort level is, let's go for a walk, and are you comfortable with keeping even like a 3-foot distance or something? And or we could go for a coffee shop and sit outside, or a restaurant and sit outside and have an appetizer or something. So, but really, in that initial thing, meet as soon as you can. Like after you've done the clearing of we know this person is who they are, and I feel safe, and they're saying all the right things. And then you meet and you see, is there a similar belief in how we're navigating these COVID times? So, the questions you want out of the way before you meet so that you can just cruise and see what it's like to be with each other. These are some of these. I don't know if you know these, but it would always be, okay, how long have you been single for? When was the last time you had a serious relationship? Are you dating a lot now? All those things. I'm asking it. Okay, do you have kids or pets? Or if you're younger, do you want them someday, kids or pets? What do you do for a living? What are things you do in your free time? And then we ask, what are your views on this COVID consciousness? Are you low risk exposure? Now, have that talk before so you know if there's a compatibility. I interviewed a friend of mine who's been divorced for a short time, yet she really did her work. She started in counseling before the divorce was final. She has processed and cleared her ex out. This is mandatory. Men tend to get online dating the second the woman leaves them, the second. And I'm telling you, that's not healthy. If you don't clear your stuff out, you're going to recreate the same thing. Once that initial honeymoon is over, you're going to just be in the same situation. So you want to clear space, and you want to make sure that you've come to terms with why the relationship ended. What was your part in it? What is their part in it? What is it you're really looking for? Check in to see how have you changed? How long was that relationship? Was it a 2-month relationship? Was it a, 20-year relationship? I'm certain you've changed regardless, but you need to check in with yourself and see what your needs are and what matters. So you need to know that there's space for new possibilities, and she does regular counseling. So here's my own plug here. So I do these podcasts to share knowledge and insights, and I do private counseling sessions. I get quite a few counseling from my podcast viewers and listeners, and those who forward my podcast. Thank you for that, and thank you for listening. Anyways, so I specialize in self-care routines, like really getting your life in a consistent track, and detoxes and cleanses, and at the end I'm going to talk about one coming up soon, and relationship counseling. So it's all the same tools needed to have a happy life. So I was charging $100 an hour. I'm down to $75 an hour just during these times. Or I do 4 sessions for $250, and that's when you're doing once a week. Or some people do twice a week, but once a week is usually sufficient. You could contact me through my phone, 808-283-7587, or samana@spaluna.com, SAMANA @SPALUNA.com. So here are questions from someone, a good friend of mine that's dating during COVID times. I asked her. I said, okay, what's your favorite thing about dating? And she said, because she's newly divorced but has done her work, she said, I like to become the ideal date for the person that I matched with, which means, so I've been 100% mom and in a marriage for many years, many years, and monogamous. And it's not that I'm not being authentic, but I like trying on different lifestyles. I like putting on new personas and trying on new hats. And basically, she said she likes dating a variety of men, so that the experiences, she could see what she likes and doesn't like. So remember that we all know what doesn't work because of failed relationships, but we actually want to see what might work and something new, something totally different. You might like a woo-woo person and you're science-based. I mean, who knows? Maybe that polarity is enough interest for you, but yet your values are the same, so it could work. So then I asked her, what are the biggest challenges dating in COVID? And of course, this isn't a surprise. She said the no touching and kissing. And she said that so many times after a date, her date will say, why didn't I kiss you? Or I really wanted to kiss you. They'll text her that. And it's like, well, the truth is because it's not allowed. And everybody is learning this. Now, if someone leans over to kiss you and you're trying to keep your 3 to 6 feet distance, then you need, I'm sorry about that, then you need to say this isn't going to work for me, and that's not acceptable. So that is something. Now, when it does get more of a, again, sex texting is fun. You could have a lot of fun with that. And again, wanting is so much better than having. That famous quote, I can't remember who said that, but I love that one. I believe, who said that? What poet said that? I can't see it right now. Anyways, okay. So I said, what advice do you have for people that are dating during COVID? And she said she only has one COVID buddy every 2 weeks, which I highly respected her with that, which meant when she finally gets through that initial texting, that initial, FaceTime or Zoom or talking on the phone, and she knows she wants to meet with this person, wherever they meet, if it's like a water date or a hiking date or outdoor coffee or something date, that this becomes her own tracking system. So she actually does her own little quarantine for the next 2 weeks after she meets with someone, even if they said all the right things, right? We really don't know a stranger if they're being authentic or not, but we have to try to hope for that. So that's what I would say. That was incredible advice. So if you're gonna date, do it 2 weeks apart so that you have your own tracking system. I hope this was valuable information to you. So now I'm going to say, concluding. So I am actually, any of you that know me, we're getting into the end of summer. So the end of August, on Thursday night, 6:30 to 8:30, I'm going to do total online Zoom 4-week classes. And it is Texas time, Central Standard Time, and it's going to be August 20th, 27th, September 3rd, and 10th, where I'm doing my total client renovation. So it's a cleanse. Ahead of time, I'll give you the information on what you're going to need to buy, the foods and things you'll need to buy, because you do eat through this, but it's very specific. It's more about what we eliminate. And then there are supplements, so it's a 30-day detox pack through Pure Encapsulation that I will have shipped directly to you, and probiotics. And those you get a discount from. Those are high quality pharmaceutical grade, and you'll get 10% off of those. So I have charged $500 for this the last couple years, and I'm only charging $250 for this. So I am going to see how many people sign up. I'd love to have 8 to 10 to 12 maybe. I think that would be enough. And this is going to be all online. And let me tell you, so that $250 plus your supplements for 4 weeks of 2 hours of free counseling is basically what you're getting, or affordable counseling, because each week what we're going to do, we're going to have a format where we're going to do like a 3 to 5 minute type of meditation, something to like calm our mind, because most of you will be finishing work or something. And then we're going to do some kind of movement. I'm going to switch that up anywhere from Qigong to something with isometrics or Tai Chi or free weights or yoga or something. And then we're going to do like a check-in where we're doing a check-in emotionally. And again, it will be brief and regimented of how much time everyone has. And then we're going to check in to see how everyone's doing on their cleanse each week, because that is going to progress. Now, I've taught this over 28 years or so now, and I've done it so many times. So it's wonderful. So I'm going to do an hour of lecture where we're actually going to cover physical detox and the processes of the body, mental detox, emotional detox, and spiritual detox. So all of it. And then the last session, we're going to kind of like condense everything and summarize it. So any of you that are nurses out there, or therapists, or estheticians, or counselors in any way, and you want to do this. So I always recommend my therapists do this themselves for the 30 days, but you're going to get information that you could actually bring this to your clients. And I've done this online. So I've done it in-house since I've been in Austin in small groups of 4 and 6. That's the most I do in-house, but now that everything's online, I've done this with many of my clients that are in other cities and states, and contact me if this interests you to do this. And then throughout that time, we're going to figure out how to do brief little one-on-one chat rooms where we have like journaling homework and kind of process-oriented exercises to do. So you'll be very full. This is kind of like a support group for 4 weeks that you lose weight, you feel better, you're inspired, you're clear, and you're getting the tools and the strength to move forward with whatever is your next chapter in life. And I think we all need this right now. So you could look on my website, spaluna.com, spaluna.com, and you could check out more about that and some of the testimonials. And then next week, my podcast is going to be about daily challenges in COVID and advice from two skilled therapists, so David Garrison and myself. So if you want to email me any questions or comments that you have about what are your challenges, think of this as free counseling. And blessings to all of you, and stay safe and stay wise and stay healthy, and aloha.